You go into business, don't apologize to anyone. Go into business to make money for yourself and your family. Because in the process, you will employ others, you'll pay taxes, do good to society.
Welcome to Expedition Business, where we discuss the highs and lows of our entrepreneurs and how they manage to keep the flame of business adventure burning. But today is slightly different. My name is Christél Rosslee-Venter, and I have the immense privilege of talking to Herman Mashaba, one of the most well-known successful black entrepreneurs prior to South Africa's democracy in 1994. And he grew his business adventures even bigger in the new South Africa. Herman, welcome to Expedition Business.
Thank you so much, Christél. And yes, it's been an exciting, difficult journey, but you know what is easy in life? Yes, I started my business career not coming from a business background with the laws at the time saying I cannot go into business, and realizing that the only way I could attain my independence was to go into business. And I decided I'm going to do it with or without the laws permitting or not permitting me. And luckily, God gave me the blessings, and I used my God-given brains to navigate the challenges.
So you are very well adapted to working with laws that you don't like. It sort of came with you from the beginning.
Well, I think what is actually quite painful for me, Christél, when I voted for Nelson Mandela in 1994, I expected to see an explosion of black entrepreneurs. And I'm actually quite sad that the new South Africa has even destroyed the entrepreneurial spirit of our people, mainly the black entrepreneurs, SMMEs, because then we focused on wrong economic laws, like this what are called draconian labor laws that are there to destroy small businesses, come out with socialist policies, coming out with discriminatory laws, discriminating South Africans against one another, and allowed the crime to be the order of the day that destroyed businesses, because there's just no way businesses will ever flourish in an environment of chaos than what we are seeing in South Africa today. If you want to destroy a country and destroy its economy, destroy the rule of law and the criminal justice system. And it's unfortunate that the party of Nelson Mandela has been responsible for the destruction of our economy. That's why we sit with the highest sustainable unemployment rate in the world. We are the most unequal society on earth. We are the meta capital of the world. In a country as rich as South Africa, as diverse as South Africa, a country with so much talent, unfortunately, our political leadership is more focused on stealing than saving society.
Mm, mm. But Herman, if I'm correct, you left full-time entrepreneurship in 2014 to join politics. Looking back, would you do that again?
Now, I left business considered the late 2015, not 2014. And I'd obviously then took politics on a full-time basis in January of 2016, campaigning as DA's mayoral candidate in the city of Johannesburg. Will I do it again? I will do it 1,000 times more, given opportunity, if, because I'm really using my privileged position, really do something about the evilness that I see in my country. And for me, running away is not an option. I strongly believe that we need to stand up to evil. And when evil prevails and you decide to put your head in the sand, I strongly believe that God will punish you.
Because it's much easier to just stay in business and working for your own pocket.
No, it's not easy. No, it's morally bankrupt. It's immoral, and I would not really do anything that morally it's unacceptable. You know, for someone privileged as I am to sit back and say it's got nothing to do when I see poverty around me, I see the suffering of our people. Honestly, it doesn't resonate with me. I wasn't born to just be a spectator and say things have got nothing to do with me. I can tell you the inequality, the laws discriminating against South Africans. They are my problem. They're not anyone's problem. They are my problem. I take personal responsibility for anything that I'm aware of and I don't do anything about it, then I'm complicit. So I don't want to be complicit to evil.
Going back in time, you grew up in highly impoverished environment with a father that passed away, your mother you hardly saw as as she worked as a domestic worker, very, very far from home. And
So for actually, it's close by. I can walk to where she used to work in Sandton. Probably it'll take me 15 minutes walk. By car is 5 minutes. I used to come and visit her in my youth when I was 15, 16, traveling all the way from Amanskraal from time to time to come and visit her. To come and get money because it was cheaper for me to really come over to Joburg than for her to come to home to Amanskraal. So yeah, and I've been living in this community now since 1998.
but growing up, things were not easy. And as far as I can remember from your biography, you even sold some wheat at a point. Um, and yeah, we can go into a lot of details of all the things that went wrong, but eventually you did make it and you became successful. What do you think is the difference between you and all your peers that stayed behind?
Well, I can tell you, for me, if I did not to gamble on weekends, I would not have been able to go to school. More especially from those days, from Form 1 up to matric in 1978. I used to be, in the townships, we played this game of dice.
Mm-hmm.
Every Friday night, you go to gambling dens, and I was a knocksman.
Yes.
If I did not really play dice to really be able to make money to help me for the following week, because I used to leave home at 6:30 in the morning, and you come home 5:30 to 6 at night. So if weekend I don't make a plan to get carry money, that would mean that I will spend the whole week at school without surviving on Amanskraal water, the
Mm,
very same water that is now today killing our people from the taps.
mm,
So I
mm.
think gambling for me, because my mother could not afford to really take care of me. I learned at the early stage from 14, 15, buying my own clothes, buying my own books, by gambling. And obviously, as part of the peer pressure, we probably started smoking weed for one of my cousins older than us. He's the one who taught us to smoke. And I remember sometime, I think in 1977, when we were in Form 4, at one time, one friend of mine and I, we said, my goodness, for some weeks, the gambling wasn't working. And we said, but we smoke this stuff and we've got lots of friends who are smoking. Why don't we look for the main supplier, and then we sell it and make money to be able to go to school. Luckily for us, that time my mother was already back at home and not well, and within a week picked up that something was not right, and we stopped that nonsense. We said, no, this is not worth it. And also the money we were making wasn't really worth the risk. Those days with apartheid government for just smoking. They find you with a little bit of weed. You get 5 years and 5 years with no remission.
Sure.
So the risks were high, and now even the profits were really not really worth it. So within a week, we stopped. We realized, look, you know what, Louis, this is stupid. What we trying to do? There's no financial reward, so the profits are too small and the risks are high, because if you get arrested, you go to jail for 5 years with no remission, no parole. Where today murderers are released from prison. Now you can imagine, for us innocent young people who were doing this for survival. We were not really doing this because we were criminals.
I can imagine. And yes, I don't think we should go into people getting out of jail today. That's a topic for a whole other day, and definitely not part of entrepreneurship. But do you think that...
But the thing is, it's Christél, we can't avoid politics, because politics are the ones determining the future entrepreneurship. No ways we must fool our people that they're going to succeed as entrepreneurs in an environment of chaos. I can tell you, if you've got chaos, there's no way that your economy will ever progress. Anywhere in the world, no economy has ever progressed in an environment of chaos. That's why I don't understand when people want to distance themselves. They say, no, I'm a businessman. I don't want to get involved in politics. But they go out and bribe politicians and do all funny things. Politics, it's a foundation of a successful nation.
Without a doubt. But I just want to come back quickly. Why do you think, what is the reason why you were successful and your peers in Hammanskraal stayed behind?
Well, I think it depends on really so many factors, because I think God created us as different people. I have my own characteristics that I had, as much as I lost my father at the age of 2, but I had a grandfather who instilled in me a sense of self-independence, self-reliance, taught me the discipline, and and so forth. So the others were not lucky enough to really have mentors. My grandfather played a very, very big role in my life. And secondly, also, I think I was brought up in a child-hated household by my sisters when my mother wasn't home. And I really lived in a very stable family home and environment. As much as we did not have our own house, because my father died before building my mother a house. So we used to live from different houses of family members. But as a family unit, my sisters really played such a really inspirational role in my life. And at the age of 22, when I realized I needed stability in my life, I decided to took a decision to get married so that I can stabilize my life. So whereas other people decided to keep on playing, whereas in my case, I felt, I needed to protect myself from myself. So I needed a good revenue. And took a decision to get married at the age of 22. And here it is almost 42, 41 years of my marriage. And I look at the role that my wife played. I look at the role that my sisters played. Look at the role that my mother played in my life. Look at the role that my grandfather played in my life. And then I was brought up in a God-fearing family. They we were not only afraid of police, we were afraid of morality. Our value system as a family has really been, and it even today keeps playing a role in my life. That whatever you do in life, you must ensure that it's just something that will have God's blessings.
So, Herman, you mentioned your grandfather. Is this the grandfather that named you Hyman
Yeah,
when you were born?
well, yeah, no, on the 26th of August, you can imagine in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to be turning 26. I don't know how come, My grandfather happened to have been home on 26th of August, 1959. And my parents gave me two names, Philip and Samteu. But my grandfather, out of his own, went around the entire village, house to house, telling everyone about the Hyman being born. I ended up, when I woke up in this world, everyone, including my family, called me Hyman. And I only changed the name later on in my life because this Hyman was too heavy for me.
But do you think it played a role in your life, being brought up with a grandfather that immediately thought you will be a leader one day?
Well, without any doubt, he didn't just call me Hyman. He instilled in me. My grandfather lived for me. I know from the time I woke up in this world until he died in 1978, I meant everything to him.
Oh, that is so, so sweet. Herman, Malcolm Gladwell said in his book, David and Goliath, Underdogs, Misfits, and the Art of Battling Giants, that you reach success because of adversity and not despite of adversity. How do you feel about that?
Well, honestly, it depends on any given situation. I think some people fail in adversity, some people make it, some people coming from successful families, they fail, and some make it. So I think honestly, you can't really paint everything with the same brush. It's an academic. This is not an academic exercise. In real life, there are people coming from adversity who've made it, and there are people coming from adversity who did not make it. And in fact, for me, my view, my personal view is that that's why I'm in politics today, because chances of success when you're in adversity are, are reduced. So if you need your nation to succeed, you've got to create an environment that is inspiring and so forth. Because once you're in that environment, the chances of success of majority of your people, then your nation it's high. So it is for that reason I'm in politics, so that we need to unleash the potential of human beings. But unfortunately, right now, our current government, it's oppressing the potential of the human spirit. They want to control. I mean, these are communists, they're socialists, they're corrupt criminals. So obviously their success is dependent on the oppression of other people, because that is what socialism is all about. It's about the oppression of men and be controlled by political leaders, with very expensive taste and brutality. So, and that's something that drove me to eventually get into politics, to say, no, this is unacceptable. If we need to unleash the potential of our people, is to create an environment where government leaves them alone. Government has got a big role to play, but government must create a conducive environment where all South Africans are treated equally. But government is not there to determine the outcome. The government's role is to create an equal opportunity. But government cannot determine the outcome. And that's a mistake that socialists make. They want to determine the outcome. I can give you an example. My elder brother and I, from the same parents, and I don't know if you read my book, Black Light,
yes.
Right at the beginning, I talk about my brother who left school while my father was still there, and when he passed his standard 6, was the best student in the Hammanskraal district. But instead of actually pursuing his studies, going to high school, he decided no, he wants to go and work. And my father was still around. And now you can imagine, when I started school, I had no father. And I was determined to use education as as a platform or avenue to free myself. So, and these are two brothers from the same parents, So, this whole notion of politicians wanting to determine the outcome, it's a mistake that they keep making. But obviously, it suits them because it allows them, it gives them an opportunity to control people because people are gullible. To believing politicians that they mean well. In the meantime, they make them suffer.
Just quickly, on a very practical basis, for people, entrepreneurs, say in Hammanskraal today, that are battling to get their business going, what would you suggest to get, apart from politics, practical know-how, insight? What message would you give them to keep on going, and despite all the failures that they've had in business, how would you help them to get going and to keep on going?
I will be lying to them if I'm not going to ask them, if I'm really serious about seeing an explosion of success. We've got to fix politics. There are no ways I'm going to lie to people of Hammanskraal where they have industrial area called Babelech Industrial Area that used to employ millions of people. Today, 80% of that industrial area is closed. You have draconian labor laws that would make it difficult for a small business guy to make it. You have an education system that is producing the worst education outcomes in the world. We live in a society that is discriminating us along racial lines. So for as long as people ignore these fundamental basics, I'm saying to them, you can try, but your chances of success is going to be by luck chances. So we can't rely on chances. We've got to rely on planning to produce the right kind of environment so that we can unleash the potential of South Africans and people of Hammanskraal. So people of Hammanskraal today with no education, with not even have water, they're drinking cholera water. The factories are closed, COSATU has closed them down. Their children are not getting proper education. The level of crime, it's out of hand. That the drugs, when I grew up, the only drug we would have, it was weed. Today, they give them such, they've opened our borders to international drug syndicates, bringing drugs that are destroying our youth. So if you are not going to really deal with these macro things, honestly, I cannot really say you are going to succeed. Your success as entrepreneurs, our success as a nation, commerce is dependent on a conducive environment. We need to fix our politics as part of using our own initiatives. But what is important, we need to fix our politics because our politics are toxic. They're not conducive to a successful economy.
Quick question, best case scenario, how long would it take to fix politics to ensure that you've got the most perfect micro environment to build a business in?
I wish I was a prophet. I really wish so, because I'm not sure how long it's going to take us to fix politics. I personally believe 2024 is going to be the defining moment whether South Africa is going to make it or not. If people of Hammanskraal, if Black people who are the majority in this country, they're the ones who must decide whether South Africa is going to be another failed African state or not. So next year, it's our last chance to create a new dispensation, create a new future for South Africans, because we live in a democratic environment. We can determine what kind of leaders we put in place. And to be honest with you, the future of this country is in the hands of the Black majority, because they're the biggest. Anyone who's going to be in government will be decided by Black people because they are in a majority. So if they continue voting this government that has failed them for the last 29 years, then they must accept the consequences. I cannot see how South Africa will be able to bounce back. In fact, you can imagine the destruction caused by this government over the last 29 years. So if they give them another 5 years, and then I can tell you 2029, South Africa will by then be a failed state. And now to rebuild that when now you've now destroyed the democratic structures, you've destroyed the criminal justice system. Well, Zimbabwe will be like a Sunday school picnic. So my wish and view, and that's why I'm working hard to ensure that we can bring in a new era in 2024, because as far as I can see and predict, 2024, it's our last opportunity, and I appeal to people of Hammanskraal, those entrepreneurs and their families, if they want a great future for themselves and their families, to start a new chapter in 2024, so that in 30 years' time, people, kids from Hammanskraal can be engineers, can be business people, can be entrepreneurs, can be accountants, and so forth. So it is up to people of Hammanskraal to really fix their politics. If they are not prepared to fix their politics, they think they can operate in a vacuum and ignore politics. I can tell you, politics are going to follow them in their bed, in their rooms, and they're going to get poorer and poorer and poorer.
If we can leave politics just to the side for 1 second, and we imagine that one person in Hammanskraal today, entrepreneur who needs money to feed his family today. He cannot wait until politics is fixed. How can he, what would be from an entrepreneurial perspective, you've been there, you've started from the ground up, what would be your advice for him that is feeling failed right now today and he needs to feed his family today?
Well, Christél, I don't think I'm the kind of person that is going to give people an academic, theoretical advice. If people of Hammanskraal who is today hungry and they want to do something about their lives, and they're not prepared to fix their political environment, then they must accept the consequences, because the chances of success are next to nothing. With the current labor legislation, with the current lawlessness, because go and start a business today in Hammanskraal, go and start a supermarket in Hammanskraal today in Ramutsenam, where I was born. I can tell you within days, criminal elements are going to rob you. Or even murder you, you know. So you have no protection whatsoever from criminal justice system. You are competing with foreign nationals who are in the country illegally, who are selling counterfeit goods, expired goods, who are not registered. But you as a South African, for you to really open a supermarket today, you've got to obviously register, because if you're not registered, you're going to get into trouble with the Labor Department. Or otherwise, the only way you're going to survive, that means you must get involved in bribing people, the Labor Department, even including making sure that you comply with employment equity. Instead of government coming to assist you to really look at your business challenges, they want you to comply with employment equity legislation. What does it do? Tell me, what does it do to your business? While you are facing all this, you go to the labor court. When people take you to the labor court for minor things, people come to work drunk. You can't just really fire them. You have to really go through a myriad of challenges. And now, as a small entrepreneur, where are you going to get lawyers and HR practitioners to ensure that you can comply with what I call this draconian labor laws? So that's what I'm saying, is the challenges are so massive in this country that my advice to that entrepreneur in Hammanskraal, focus as part of everything else that you are doing, fix your political system. I started my business in an environment where, obviously, I think we had the apartheid system, but I can tell you my personal safety was guaranteed to, I could really move around, sell products to Salon on a cash basis and so forth, never been robbed, ducking and diving from the police. That's all in terms of state of emergency. But generally, armed robberies and the people breaking into your stores when non-existent. Today, it hurts me to give an example, Christél, when the new South Africa emerged. I started my business with black distributors throughout the country. And then the new South Africa came, and that's when the breakdown of the rule of law started crumbling and eventually collapsed. I could not give my products to black distributors in the townships my stock on credit because I deliver stock to him, to him or to her, the very same night they get robbed, and they are unable to pay me. And eventually to protect my business, I said, if you come from this environment, you pay for cash. People were owing me a lot of money. If I was going to keep on giving them stock, I will go out of business. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure these things out. And this is something that I relate to South Africans that it really pains me that I started business with black distributors all over the country, went out. I used to travel 10,000 kilometers minimum a month, going around the country, establishing distributors, marketing the products. And now I look at it, my business is what, 36, 37 years old. And I look at now the distribution channel is no longer in the hands of black distributors in the townships because of the high levels of crime, the draconian labor laws, operating with illegal foreigners, with counterfeit goods, the level of corruption of corrupting politicians, so if people are not prepared to fix their politics, then please don't ask advice from me. I don't know how to advise you because unfortunately, your success is dependent on a conducive political environment.
Definitely. But speaking of your business adventures, your earlier business adventures, one of it was getting your hands on a stolen welding machine. And
no, that was not business. I was still at school at the time. What happened is friends of ours, we used to be a group of friends and so forth. So one of them, Junkie, one time came to tell Lou and I, and we were desperate. We had no money, So he said to us, guys, to my friends and I, we've got a machine we stole from one of the factories at Baberechi, we have been battling for more than a month or so. We can't get a buyer. So I said to him, where is it? I can get a buyer within days. And we went and took this machine and sold it and made money out of it. But we're still in school. We're not entrepreneurs. It was not business.
Well,
it was just...
some people still regard it as business, even today. But I want to ask...
No, they go on the headlines. They don't read what's in the book.
But I want to ask you, at the time, you also said how valuable that welding machine was in your community because it could create a job. What is your opinion about the value of artisans in our country, getting more artisans to go into entrepreneurship?
Look, Christél, if we are not going to educate our nation and we think that they can run businesses, successful businesses, with a 30% mark, when you close down artisan training colleges and you don't really train your people, then forget about it because someone who cannot really understand the difference between running a proper business, understand an income statement, a balance sheet, that person will never succeed. I mean, you don't have to get a professor to really tell me that someone who can't read and write, what are the chances of this person running a business that can grow? You know, now with the level of education that we are getting, closing down artisan training colleges. You know, I mean, today, when I grew up, even during those days of apartheid, we had black electricians. In fact, when I started Black Like Me in January of 1985 in Harango Industrial Area, um, my next door neighbor was an electrician. And another guy who was a carpenter, Mr. Tabani, was a carpenter and so forth. So we had the different skills and services that people offer. And this way, trained, qualified people. Mr. Tabani wasn't a carpenter because he learned it from his dad. No, you went to a technical training college. So what was Mr. Solis, the electrician, was a qualified electrician because of those days in the townships of Harangu and other places, the apartheid government just provided electricity in the street. So if you want to get electricity into your own house, you had to get a professional qualified electrician working with the municipality to ensure that they can then bring electricity into your own house. So we used to have my next door neighbor, Solis Electrical, was one. And next to Soli was Mr. Tabani. And there's another guy doing steel work and so forth. All were not people who were trained by nature. No, they were coming from qualified training colleges. It is for that reason, without investment in artisan training, then no ways that we'll be able to rebuild this infrastructure that our government has destroyed over the last 30 years. We are not going to rebuild this economy and infrastructure by people who are not properly trained.
Would you suggest more people go to artisan school than to universities to study entrepreneurship?
Yeah, honestly, it depends on your God-given talent. Yes, when you go into artisan training, it's easy for you to come out as an electrician. You can open your own electrical business, lots of opportunities in the townships and everywhere else. And yes, you can go to university, become an accountant or become an engineer. And, entrepreneurs and yes, people are saying, are they born or trained? I think it's a question of the opportunities to present, because entrepreneurship it's identifying opportunity that exists in your environment, and some people by nature would not want to take chances. I mean, I've been an employer for many years. Good people, but they would not want to really take the trouble of taking a risk in running their own business. But they're happy to really work for you and give their commitment to your business. If you look at most of the listed companies, are not run by entrepreneurs. They're run by professional people, accountants, lawyers, and whatever. But it's not their business. They're not the ones actually who've taken the risk of running business, but they are properly trained. So entrepreneurship is not something that it just really happens. It happens because people identify opportunities. Some of them have got an appetite like me. I'm a capitalist. Born capitalism, it's in my DNA. If you want Herman Mashaba to enjoy life, put me in an environment where I make money, not to do politics. I hate politics to do it, but given what's happening in my country, realizing that the only contribution, a positive long-term contribution I can make is to get into politics and use my privileged position so that I can help others to be able to really improve themselves.
Wow. Herman, you are fairly outspoken about your Christian faith. Is this only to get votes, or do you really believe it makes a difference on a day-to-day basis?
It's up to people to judge. It's not up to me. I can only tell you, but it's up to the people to really decide. I'm not one to decide for other people. I decide for Herman Mashaba.
And how much does it make a difference in your life?
Without having the Christian faith and values, that's why I believe in ethical leadership. No one will ever hold a gun at me. I'm not a compromised person, because everything that I do, I ask for God's blessing.
And so far it's working very, very well.
I can't say it's working. I would like it to, if it was working well, we would not really be having this criminal government of ours. Because I pray every day for the collapse of this criminal government to be removed from government.
Absolutely true. But Herman, it looks like you are always fairly in control of your situation. Do you ever get times when you feel your day is spinning out of control?
No, I tell you that that is the training that my grandfather instilled in me, to always be 100% in control over my life. No, man, I don't really believe in someone taking responsibility for me. Every decision that I make, I take personal responsibility for it, whether it's a good decision or I made a mistake, because one thing that I accept, I'm a human being, I'm fallible. That's why over my life, in business and everything that I do, I make sure that I surround myself with strong people, including the reason why I got married to my wife, because she's a strong person. Because, for me as Herman Mashaba to feel vulnerable, that's when I'm surrounded by weak people. I feel vulnerable. That's why I just don't want to be surrounded by weak people, because they will put me into a ditch. Because weak people don't challenge me. I know, and I've accepted that life is not perfect. We need to always navigate to correct it. Now, can imagine if you're surrounded by weak people who are happy always to agree with you, even when they don't agree, and then they want to gossip on the sides. I would really dread to surround myself with such people. That's why throughout my life, I'm taken to really be a stubborn person. Some people think I'm a dictator, because I cannot accept weak people around me. In my leadership position, I accept and I respect people. There are certain people who can be managers. Then that's fine. Let's give them the job to do something where they don't have to make decisions. But for you to be the manager and you can't make decisions, then no, you cannot be a manager. If don't really tell me you may fail to really make this decision, and you knew about it and you never brought it to our attention. That means you're not a manager. And yes, absolutely, I will make sure that I put you in an environment where you can then play a role of not managing. Because managers must be people who are able and capable of making decisions, and not always think that all decisions that you're going to make must be popular. Forget about being popular. Do what is right for the business, do what is right for society, do what is right for your own family, do what is right for yourself and others around you as a manager.
But that's not always
to forget about popularity.
Yes, that's not always easy to do the right thing. It's easier to do the popular
well,
thing.
That is why if people think it's not easy, then such people must then be given jobs where they must just run a machine and they don't make decisions. Start to sit on a machine where products move on and no decisions to really be made. As long as you are able to remember that switch on this machine and it'll run, put the stuff in the box, then no decision. Then that's fine now. That's why it's important to do skills audit of people to establish their strength and their weaknesses. But if you're a businessman, you employ weak people, you surround yourself with weak people, then accept the consequences if they are unable to really make decisions. Because decisions have got to be made every day. Yeah? And tough
Absolutely.
decisions most of the time.
Absolutely. Very, very good advice. I will write that down in my book. In November 2019, when you left the office of Mayor of Johannesburg, you said in an article, "I'll be on holiday, sitting somewhere, reading books, drinking wine, playing golf, tennis, and piano." Is that still the way that you use to regroup and re-energize yourself?
Well, absolutely. As and when I get an opportunity, that's really what I do. I like traveling. It's just that my traveling is limited right now with the kind of work that I do. Something that I miss to do with my wife. On Saturday, someone brought me a nice bottle of whiskey, and I called a friend of mine. We said my daughter was in the States, bought me some LPs, vinyls. And I sat with a friend of mine for 2, 3 hours. My wife was in Cape Town, and I really had fun. Switched off from the normal running around. I think we spent 3, 4 hours together, just the two of us listening to good music and play. Unfortunately, I'm still from the old school. I play vinyl, so I've got a good system. Listening to music I like, and I'll while the music is playing, I will try and use the piano to be part of whatever music that is playing. That's because I'm a bad pianist. I've never really had proper training. By the time I bought the piano and went for lessons, it was already too late, very busy to focus. So I've accepted that. At least I know where the keys are with the piano. So sometimes when a particular music plays, more especially jazz, I can play my vinyl and play my piano as part of myself while I'm having a glass of whiskey.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. And do you still play golf?
But I'm lucky if I play for 5, 6 times in a year. I play golf, but I enjoyed went for just when hit balls the other day because the last time I played my golf was so bad that because I don't really, for many years, for the last 30 years, before I went into politics, I used to play golf with my wife every Saturday when we home or even when we travel overseas, we'll be anywhere in the world. Part of our holidays would be playing golf. But obviously, I got stupid in 2016 to go and join politics, a brutal job where I work 7 days a week, literally 24 hours a day. So yes, I love golf. As and when I get an opportunity, I go and play. In fact, this Friday, a friend invited me to play with him, and I've accepted. But I've got another appointment. I'm going to see if I can move this, go and play golf. But I know I'm going to play nonsense because I've not played. I don't practice. But I enjoy. I enjoy being in a golf course, walking, laughing with friends. It's lovely.
Okay. And being out in nature.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I love to really be out there in the golf course, nature. For the last year, my wife and I went to this place in Kenya. What's it called, by the way? Um, this big nature reserve in Kenya. I forget the name now. we had a lovely time, my goodness, with and yeah, we're planning soon to go to the Tanzanian side, to Serengeti, one of these days. Been to Kruger National Park many times. We've been to private game reserves, to Botswana and other places. And, that's why, in fact, even in my will, even in my will, my will is that I must be cremated and my ashes must be, my wife and my family leave they still alive. They must go and throw them in the Kruger National Park for
Oh,
the
wow.
animals.
Oh, well, for the animals. Hopefully they won't be feasting on it.
Then let them feast and their life continues.
Oh, and any sport that you practice, exercise?
Well, I've got a gym at home. And I try and exercise 3, 4 times a week. So the room next door to my bedroom, it's a full-fledged gym with a steam room. So I try as much as possible to exercise as and when I'm home. And because I've got a back problem because of many years of traveling in my youth, as I said, I used to do plus minus 10,000 kilometers
Mm.
a month. So, as I got older, my back, the only way to avoid having an operation, I must exercise. And I went to a sports to medicine people, and no, I don't have to do an operation. I must just exercise. Show me what kind of exercises I do. I go to Thai massage once a week to do
Okay.
this traditional Thai massage to really, stretch your body, tough, but I enjoy it because it gives me an opportunity to make sure that, then I don't have to risk having one day just soon to do an operation on my back. There's no need. We know what the problem is. It just really requires exercise, regular exercise.
Well, speaking of one day, what would be, say, in a perfect world after the 2024 election, your dream of getting the ANC removed is done and dusted, it's sorted. What would be your next metaphorical mountain that you want to climb outside of
Uh,
politics?
My goodness, I really dream of that day before I reach 70 that I can be out of politics and to work with my wife in our businesses, look after our family interest, and travel the world. And that is really my dream. I wish that I can live up to 70 to see the ANC out and I'm out of politics so that then I can have at least 20 years of traveling the world. My wife and I have had the privilege over the last 40 years of extensively traveling the world, but we still want to do more. But because of the kind of business I've entered, it's our travel is very limited. So I hope I'll really be able to do that when I'm 70. I'm out of politics, but this is dependent on the 2024 project because if we fail to remove the ANC next year, that would mean then I've got another 5 years of fighting.
Mm, mm. Okay, and we don't want that.
Well, you definitely, or I don't think there's any South African who still wants to see ANC in government. But how do we mobilize them to understand, particularly the black people, to understand that with the ANC that is abused, to go out and vote them out so that we can have a peaceful transition?
Mm, mm. Herman, I just want to quickly come back to you. You mentioned your wife a couple of times, but she's obviously over the years taken over your Black Like Me baby that you've cared for so much and looking after it, as far as I can understand, on a day-to-day basis. Does that not make you jealous that she can be busy with it and you have to do politics?
I think, Christél, I'm normal to be jealous. Why should I'm proud of her. What has
Just a
jealousy got to do
bit.
with this? No, I'm actually quite proud of what she's doing. She's not just really running our cosmetic business, she's running all our family business interest. And I'm proud of her. She's working with my daughter. I'm very proud of them.
Oh,
Why should I be jealous of people who are doing a great job?
uh-huh. No, I was just joking on that. Herman, just quickly, what would be your number one book that you would recommend for our entrepreneurs to read?
What is this book by Thomas Sowell? I think he's written so many books. Let them read books by this Professor Thomas Sowell. That
Uh-huh.
he's written lots of books. It's not
Okay.
just it's one of the greatest economists that I admire in the world. It's a Stanford University. It's a
Okay.
so yeah, let
Great.
them read books by Professor Thomas Sowell.
Okay.
He's one of the greatest economists that can really teach them to take personal responsibility and understand how so-called politicians they keep misleading them.
Mm, mm. Okay. And your favorite quote that you live by?
Quote, I don't have one. There's so many quotes. Just believe in yourself. You know.
Okay. Great. Fantastic. Herman, just parting message for our entrepreneurs, apart from that they need to go out and vote. Any words of encouragement and advice?
Well, if you want to be successful as an entrepreneur, please get involved in something that you know and understand and you've got experience on. And please forget this notion of thinking that you can fool people by going into business because you want to help others. Please stop this nonsense. You go into business, don't apologize to anyone. Go into business to make money for yourself and your family. Because in the process, you will employ others, you'll pay taxes and do good to society. Because it is a myth and it's nonsense for someone coming to me says, Herman, please, I need a loan to start business because there's high unemployment in South Africa. That's nonsense. Don't even waste my time. If you want to go into business, you want to be an entrepreneur, go into business to make money for yourself and your family first. And you might be lucky, like Herman Mashaba, that you can make more than what your family can consume, and that extra money, then you can go and help society. But first, help yourself, because it's a wrong starting block to say to fool people, because that's not basically why people will go into business. People go into business to make money. Anyone who tells you they're going to business because they want to help others, they're lying to themselves. They're not lying to Herman. You go into business because you want to make money to take yourself and your family out of poverty. And then you might be lucky to make more than what your family can consume. Then you can give some of it to society in whatever project that you like.